Can you repeat that? Eminem, awesome. Anybody else you wanted to shout him out? XXX, I heard. Some Drake. Awesome. Thank you guys. So the reason I like to start out with that is because I like to tell you guys about one of my favorite musical artists, who's a rapper who goes by the name of Kid Cudi. I'm gonna tell you guys why. So the year his first album came out was a very difficult year for me. I'll never forget. It was my junior year of college, and I just had a very serious suicide attempt. And you know, other rappers at the time, they were rapping about things like how much money they had, what kind of cars they were driving. Kid Cudi was different though, you know. He would rap about things like anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. You know, these were all issues that I could relate to, and it was really important for me for 3 reasons. One, it showed me that I wasn't alone. You know, these are issues that are hard to bring up with your friends sometimes. Sometimes people get embarrassed. So to see that there was somebody else going through what I was going through really meant a lot to me. 2, it gave me hope. Again, to see somebody else going through what I was going through and to see how successful he had become really meant a lot to me as well. And 3, and probably most importantly of all, it finally put a name to the emotions that I've been suppressing for so long. So now I'd like to get into my story really briefly about what can happen when you don't speak up and you don't get help. So for me, my diagnosis is bipolar type 1. I remember my symptoms began around your age, middle school, high school. I remember my mood started becoming very unstable. I used to dread getting up to go to school in the morning because very first period, kids would tease me because my eyes would water for literally no reason at all. You know, I would just get these like overwhelming waves of sadness I just couldn't control. But I didn't speak up, you know, I didn't get help because the very next period I'd be laughing hysterically, bouncing off the walls, getting in trouble for talking. So in hindsight, it's pretty obvious there was a mood disorder there, but again, I didn't speak up. But bipolar is not just a mood disorder, it's also a mental illness. And it can come with things like delusions, paranoia, hallucinations, even psychosis. So it was about this age my detachment from reality began to grow. I still remember I used to think my radio was talking to me. You know, it was actually very hard for me to get up and speak in front of people, because I know it sounds silly, but I could swear I felt like people were reading my thoughts. And I actually found out later, these are actually 2 common delusions people diagnosed with bipolar can sometimes have. So the analogy I like to use is that it was like I was wearing a mask. You know, I'd go to school, I'd put this mask on, and no one really knew what was going on with the real me. College, things got a little bit better. I was fortunate enough to go to Carnegie Mellon University, which is the top 25 university in the country. Made a lot of friends, went to a lot of parties. Unfortunately, I started self-medicating with things like drugs and alcohol, which, as Lori and Nick already talked about, never solves anything, and in fact only makes things worse, especially in the long run. But despite everything I was going through, I'm still very proud to say not only was I able to graduate with honors, but I was also accepted into medical school. But you know, that was part of the problem. I was getting good grades, I had friends, you know, I figured, why should I speak up? Why should I get help? Well, in the fall of 2011, I was starting my first year of medical school at Drexel University, and things began to spiral out of control really, really quickly. I'll never forget the added stress of taking 12 classes at once caused my mania to just skyrocket. Next thing I know, I'm failing all my exams, skipping my classes. But this time I did speak up. I went for help to see the school psychiatrist because I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what it was. Now, unfortunately, she only saw the depressive side because I wasn't fully honest with her of my manic depression and prescribed antidepressants. For those of you guys who don't know, what that can do is, while it can help lift your depression, for someone who's bipolar, it can swing you to an even higher manic state. So now I was really losing my mind. Like I said, failing all my exams, skipping my classes, drinking just about every night just to try and help me sleep, slow down my racing thoughts. Going out gambling, losing all the money my parents were giving me for groceries. Yeah, I even went out and got a tattoo without thinking about it, which I don't recommend you guys do. A lot of self-medicating with things like marijuana and pills. Finally, after a period of 30 days of barely sleeping, I went through 4 days without any sleep whatsoever. It was at this time I went to a completely psychotic episode, actually went out, committed a crime, ended up getting locked up. Now, fortunately, the jail psychiatrist had seen this happen before. She said it was a really easy diagnosis, was very understanding. She was even nice enough to call my parents up, who were also very understanding. Not only did my parents pay my bail, My bill was set at $20,000, guys. My parents had to pay 10% of that in order to get me out. But they also hired a criminal defense attorney to fight the case right away. My school, on the other hand, was not very understanding, and a few months after I got bailed out of jail, I actually ended up getting expelled, which I felt was really unfair at the time. And it's at this point in the story, in addition to that, I ended up gaining about 40 pounds within a matter of just 2 or 3 months. Not just from depression of losing my medical career, you know, everything I worked so hard for, but also a lot of anxiety with what was going on with the case. And so at this point in the story, I'd just like to pause and point out to you guys that up to this point in my life, the 2 things I was most proud of was my academic success. You know, Drexel had a 1% acceptance rate the year I got in. 20,000 people applied, only 206 got in. I was very proud of that fact. As well as my physical fitness. You know, at the time I was going to the gym 4 or 5 days every week. I was very proud of that as well. But notice, because I chose to ignore my mental and emotional health, the 2 things that matter most to me in this world went completely out the window. And it was at this time the mask only got heavier. You know, I had friends reaching out to me, texting me like, hey, is everything okay? You know, what's going on? And I remember I just lied to all of them. You know, I said, yeah, everything's fine, nothing to worry about. When in reality, everything wasn't fine. I'll never forget, my former peers were finishing up their first year of medical school, and there I was, facing up to 10 years in an upstate prison, just completely terrified out of my mind. Finally, after a year and a half of fighting the case out on bail, my lawyer was able to get me what's known as a plea bargain, which is basically a deal you strike with the courts, where you agree to plead guilty, and in addition, the court goes lighter on you, gives you a lighter sentence. The first deal they offered me was 3 to 5 years. I turned that down. Next, my lawyer was able to get me a mental health court, where he got me a deal for 23 months in county jail, followed by 10 years of probation. And even though it was the hardest thing I ever had to go through, I'm so glad I did it. I got out in April of 2015, just a completely different person. There's a picture of me at a family visit while I was locked up. So the institution they had me at was the Philadelphia Industrial Correctional Center, also known as PIC. And for those of you guys who don't know, out of the 5 county jails on State Road in Philadelphia, PIC is notorious for being the most violent, which I also felt was really unfair. But you know, I made the best of my situation, and during my nearly 2 years of incarceration, not only was I able to read over 60 books, including some really good self-help ones that taught me how to actually deal with my problems and not just run away from them. I also took 3 courses, which I was really proud about, even had a job. Probably most importantly of all, though, I finally learned to express myself through things like poetry, and I even learned how to rap in jail, which, you know, my parents weren't too happy about, but it's what makes me happy. And if we have some time at the end of today, maybe I can drop some bars for you guys, if you guys don't want to hear that. I also made a lot of new friends, you know, some of whom I still keep in touch with to this day. And you know, it's crazy, I tell people that even though I was locked up, that's actually the first time I felt free. You know, that's the time the mask finally came off, and people got to see who the real me was. And I found out people really respect that. You know, if you're just putting yourself out there and being open and honest and genuine, I found out it'll take you far, not just in jail, but also in life in general. So I'd like to start wrapping this up by talking a little bit about where I'm at today. In addition to being a speaker for the Ending the Silence program, which I'm just so thrilled to be a part of. This is now my 3rd year doing it. I absolutely love coming to schools and sharing my story with you guys. I also got a YouTube channel with some of my rap freestyles on it. My channel just broke 500 subscribers. I was pretty excited about that. I don't know. But I also got a mixtape I'm working on. It's going to be called Order Out of Chaos. So if you guys are into hip-hop, definitely check that out as well. I'm also working on a book that I plan to release this November that not only goes more in depth into my time in jail, but also explains many of the self-help tips which really helped me get through that difficult time in my life. For my own mental health, I now see a therapist twice a week, which there's definitely no shame in doing. That's just how important I feel it is to express myself now. And really important, guys, I'm actually on the right medication, which again, there's definitely no shame in doing. I see a psychiatrist once a month, and if you guys need medication for your mental health, definitely get the help you need. So I want to let you guys know that recovery is possible. You know, it doesn't matter what you've been through, what you're diagnosed with, it's still possible to bounce back and be who you want to be in life. And I actually don't have a slide for this next point I want to make, but I just want to let you guys know, a lot of times people hear my story and they say, oh, that sucks, or, poor him. But I just want to let you guys know it's the opposite. I actually don't regret anything I've ever done, and I'm actually really grateful for everything that I've been through, because I feel like it's made me who I am today. But if there's one thing I could go back and change if I was in your shoes, it's just that I would have expressed myself more, Especially in Indian society, we're taught not to speak up about certain things. And I realize it's really not healthy to keep all that bottled up. So if I could leave you guys with just one message today, one bottom line, it's that anytime you're genuinely excited to share something, it could be a story, it could be a dance, it could just be how your day went. I guarantee you there's always going to be somebody out there who's going to appreciate what you have to share. So never feel like you have to hold back. And with that, I have a pledge here. I want you guys to repeat after me. And depending on your level of participation, I'm going to decide if I'm going to rap or not. So if you guys want to hear me drop some bars, definitely repeat after me. I said, I hereby pledge to take my and my fellow classmates' mental health seriously. Seek help when I need it. And help end the stigma around mental illness. I don't know. What do you think, Lori?
I think you gotta do it.
You think I gotta do it? I think we're out of time, guys, actually. So, real quick, guys. If you guys want to check out more of what we do online, definitely check out NamiBucksPA.org. Nick's done an amazing job of revamping our website. So definitely reach out to that. My rap name, on the other hand, is Rex. We're out of time.
No, we have.
Oh, we do have enough time. Okay, thank you. Awesome. So my rap name is Rex Mundi, spelled RX space MUNDI, and you guys didn't ask, but I'm gonna tell you anyways how I got that name, because I think it's a cool story. But so Rex Mundi, REX Mundi, is Latin for King of the World. But when I looked online, another artist had already taken that name, and I was a little bummed out. But I changed it to RX Mundi because I take a lot of prescription meds, so I figured that works out pretty well. I thought that was pretty cool. So I got like 19 videos on my channel. This is the very first freestyle I ever put up. It's called my ice cream freestyle. It goes like this. I said, now you got these labels trying to show night me, never ever hype me, you'll only ignite me. Always do the right thing, no I'm not Spike Lee. These rappers sweet like diabetes, I should call them type 3. Look at how hype you are, this does not excite me. 2038, you'll still be rocking white tee. Shiva the Destroyer, ooh, I think I might be. This is my hellfire, y'all just here to sightsee. Thank you guys. I said, your boy Rex back and he off his meds. Snatch his soul out his breath so when he coughs he's dead. I'm in his nightmare like I stalk his bed. Now he trying to bargain like can we talk instead? To eat out of my bowl you would need a fatter spoon. To take me off this earth you would need some battered goons. Okay, Weezy, you're from Mars, but I come from Saturn's moon. Climbed up to the top, then I kicked the ladder too. And that's my freestyle. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it, guys. Really appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much for your time. I'm being told we have time to do another one. If you guys would like to hear that. So this is the third freestyle I ever put on my channel. It's called my Tribe by 12 freestyle. Just a quick backstory. So the institution that they had me at, I told you, was the Philadelphia Industrial Correctional Center, or PIC. But it turns out the inmates have another nickname for it. They call it Pokemon City. And I heard that and I'm thinking, how bad could it be, Pokemon City? Well, it turns out they call it that because it has the highest rate of stabbings or people getting poked. So with that, I said, Nearly 2 years up in Pokemon City. People getting stabbed and you know it ain't pretty. Why I'm still alive? Probably because my bar's hard. Insane, I spit flames like Charizard. I said, think these rappers scary, must not know where I was at. See him riding in the click, but you never hear him clap. J. Cole the most whack, all his attention is lame. How you write a diss track and don't mention a name? Before you respond back, you need to look up what my name means. When ice cream freestyle me wild will give you brain freeze. I said, all this gun talk, need to let that thing go, bruh. Wearing gold chains while I rock a King Cobra. Those who only fear me see me as the GOAT, but those who truly hear me see me as the GOAT. Greatest of all time, whose rhymes are more divine. Hold up 3 fingers, tell you read between the lines. That's my freestyle, guys. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.